as we are watching the call of the roll here at the Republican National Convention. I am joined by Lieutenant Governor of South Carolina, Henry McMaster, who delivered one of the two nominating speeches for Donald Trump tonight. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for being with us. Also, Steve Chaggaris, CBS senior political editor, joins us as well. Steve, before we get to the Lieutenant Governor here, I know Colorado was one of the states we were keeping an eye on tonight.
Yeah, and they kept it within the rules. They announced their delegates, and everything was clean. And Ted Cruz got more delegates in that state, but they announced their delegates for Donald Trump and announced him as the next president of the United States, which is about as smooth as you can get with a state that had a lot of people that didn't like Donald Trump.
You seem mildly surprised?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I think there was some rumors that there might be some trouble, walkouts, protests, yelling. There was none of that.
Do you think then yesterday, in what we saw on the floor, is it?
I think it's it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're rolling now. We're rolling to the nomination. New York is going to put him over the top, and then he is the nominee. Donald J. Trump will be the nominee of the Republican Party.
And he will be that because he was nominated by two people tonight, and we're joined by one of them again. Lieutenant Governor, it is great to have you with us.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
What did it mean to be one of the two delivering those speeches tonight?
Well, that's a great thrill and, of course, a great honor for me and for my state. But it's just this is a great event. It's a very important event. We're at a tipping point in the history of our country, and we have to get this right, as a number of people have already said. So it's a real thrill for everybody. And as was just said, I think the discussions are over. Mm-hmm. Now you hear this crowd. We're ready to go. We've got a candidate. This could be official in a few minutes, and we will win this election by a bigger margin than anybody thinks.
I know experts, perhaps such as Steve, you speak of tipping points, may have been a bit surprised. It was your state that really sort of forecast what we now have seen perhaps as an end game here. It went for Donald Trump. All but two counties, in fact, went for Donald Trump. What was it about a candidate who did not have conservative credentials when he came calling, if you will, that had allowed you to lend your support as a Southern conservative, perhaps without peer?
That's right. Well, he's conservative enough. He's a conservative on the issues that count, but more importantly, for the people out there who are not involved every day with politics, he has plenty of common sense. And he's recognized issues. He's a man of vision. He's a man of great accomplishment. And he speaks plainly. Everybody can understand what he's talking about, where he wants to go. And the most important thing is where he wants to take the country. And that he understands not only our potential, but the danger we're in. And the people of South Carolina understood that message, and that's why he won.
One more time, I'm sorry. I just want to keep our viewers aware. The boos you may have heard behind us were because the District of Columbia cast no delegates for Donald Trump. Again, Steve.
But pursuant to the rules, their delegates are bound. And they're bound for Marco Rubio, if I'm not mistaken. Marco Rubio won the District of Columbia, so in their caucus. So it almost doesn't matter anyway.
So a protest of optics, if nothing else.
Sure. I mean, they didn't say the words "we support Donald Trump," but their delegates were Marco Rubio delegates.
I know you had a question.
Well, you talked about party unity. You said that this room now is moving forward with Donald Trump, but there are some prominent people in your party, in your state, who aren't here. What do you say to the governor and to Senator Scott about not being here and moving forward? Donald J. Trump is now the nominee of the party.
Well, I would say the same thing to anyone around the country. Of course, everybody doesn't always come to the convention. Everybody can't get loose to get here, although it is like the Super Bowl of politics. But I would say simply that we have a great nominee, and we have a nominee that has made his way successfully through the finest field of candidates that we have ever put forward. And we have a nominee who has shown his strength, his endurance, his mettle, and his determination by sticking with it and not quitting and continuing to fight and fight with success when everybody was counting him out from the very beginning, everybody in every quarter, just about, except a few. And he's getting ready to get the nomination tonight. It's a great story.
But aren't you concerned? It seems that there are several in your party that still high prominent people who are counting him out?
There are always people who do not get on the bandwagon or who have a different view. That's politics. But it's also very routine for that kind of thing to happen. We're in a different sort of a situation now. And one reason that a lot of our people see differently and see different and making that known very strongly is because the stakes are so high for our country. But those of us who are backing Donald Trump, and that includes almost everybody, realize that he is the man, and as I said, perhaps the only one that will be able to withstand the battle and successfully that we're getting ready to go into with a very formidable team on the other side. So my prediction is that everybody will be for him, will be working for him, and that we will win with a large margin.
Perhaps to Steve's point, the last two Republican presidents not here, the last two Republican nominees not here, the sitting governor of the state of Ohio not here, Nikki Haley, obviously the governor of South Carolina not here. I wonder, you said he was conservative enough. We have seen Speaker Paul Ryan, whose endorsement was long coming for Donald Trump, tepid at best, and he's not been afraid to critique and criticize the candidate since giving it. When you say conservative enough, is there anything that concerns you still about his credentials?
Not a thing in the world. This man is a winner. He's strong. He has a vision of this country. He's a man of accomplishment. He speaks in a language that can move people. And this is something new. It's a new day. It's a new day for the country, and it's a very important day.
Do the numbers worry you when you see recent polls suggest he would get a mere 14% of the Hispanic vote? He would get, and perhaps I'm being kind, 1 to 2% of the African-American vote. I've talked to a lot of people that call this the Big Tent Party. How big is a tent, if those are the numbers we're talking about?
The tent's real big, but everybody's not quite in it yet. Sometimes it takes time, particularly when you've had hundreds of millions of dollars worth of negative ads run on you, and you've had all sorts of criticism, unlike any that any other candidate has ever faced running for president.
So do you believe there are still things to learn then about Donald Trump?
Oh, I think that a lot of the people have not yet gotten the full measure of him, as I tried to express tonight. He is a terrific man. He's a charming man. He's gentle. When he gets up to talk, he talks loud and he makes his points clear. But that is precisely what the people in this country want to hear. They're tired of politicians getting asked a question and dancing around the barn. They want a straight answer, and they want a consistent answer. And Trump was the first one to recognize the trade problem. He's the first one to bring up the wall. He's the first one to bring up a lot of issues, and he is a conservative candidate. But more importantly for the people of the country, he's a common sense candidate. He makes sense, and he's going to win.
As we are looking right now at the tally, as the state of Hawaii casts its delegates, Donald Trump 545, obviously well in front of Ted Cruz at 77, Marco Rubio at 17, and John Kasich, again the sitting governor of the state, still without. What then? We see the balloons. They are gathered in the rafters. They are ready to fall come Thursday night. What do you expect, and perhaps what do you hope to hear from Donald Trump on Thursday night?
I want to hear the same things that we've been hearing all along, because it is a message that the people are thirsting for. And a lot of folks that we know do not understand it. A lot of folks that we know, I think, have lost a little bit of touch with the people, the vast majority of the people out there who are very concerned about the country. That's why a lot of these fights that we've seen lately have occurred. People are concerned. They're afraid about the future. The immediate future as well as the long-range future. They see the Obama administration as having planted some seeds that, if not dug out, are going to lead to our ultimate destruction and a catastrophe for the world. Some people don't think that can happen, but we've seen it happen in other countries just recently.
You talk about this great message that he has, but he tends to get off message a lot of times when he's communicating with Americans, with voters. We saw an incident last night where his staff probably didn't give him much help by writing some words that maybe were not Melania Trump's words when she was trying to explain to Americans who this person is. Are you worried that there's this sort of regularity in terms of just sort of floating off message, and he's not able to get across across what he wants to get across to Americans without these distractions?
Not at all. I think at some point some of the college professors are probably going to be doing analyses of Trump's speeches to understand exactly how he was able to deliver his message so clearly. Now, the professionals say he gets off message, but if you notice, he always comes back to his point. But that's the kind of openness and honesty, frankness, and addressing of the issues that the people want to hear. That's the thing. People want to hear that from him, and that's what they're hearing.
Do his high unfavorable numbers concern you? And
not at this point.
How does he lower those?
By doing what he's doing, by campaigning, by taking his message and speaking loud and clear to all the people.
And as we then turn to not just the general election, but I think also the undecideds that perhaps he needs to now convince. Much has also been made, not just perhaps getting off message, but also speaking in generalities. When is the time for specifics?
Well, it is at the point where a specificity is required, and that is not now. I remember when Ronald Reagan in 1984 lost, everybody said, the first debate to Walter Mondale. He was loaded with specifics, facts and figures about throw rates, weights of missiles and submarines and nuclear power and all that. And he was counseled by Roger Ailes on how to do better in the second debate. And his point was, keep it simple and speak from the heart. Don't get into all those details. But now all of a sudden people are saying speaking from your heart and not getting bogged down in the details is a weakness. I tell you, it's a strength, and it is what has accounted for his success so far. This is a remarkable success, I believe, unparalleled in the history of our country. And it's because this man is determined he loves his country, and he's determined to make it a great place again.
Have the numbers specific to likely Republican voters, which have sat between 75 and 80% right now, which everybody agrees needs to be in the 90s to win come November, have those numbers? Has that discrepancy there, has that surprised you to this point?
In this campaign, I am not surprised at anything.
Well done. Well done. Well, again, we want to let you get back. Lieutenant Governor Henry McMaster, great state of South Carolina. We very much appreciate your time tonight, and do enjoy the continuing of the call and roll.
And thank you very much. It's a pleasure.